And this one is just a quick. It's just a quick hello. It's a drive by. It's a drive by hello. Not a long stream. I'm gonna be aim to be done this stream in 15 minutes. So it's just a 15-minute little catch up. And that's it. Um, I'm going to be busy next few weeks with family stuff, chilling with the family, doing family things. So I'm not going to really be streaming that much in the next couple of weeks. So I thought I'd get in a little stream now, and then I will have a little bit of a break of a few weeks, not streaming at all, and then I'll schedule in some episodes where I'll check with Richard and Rob to do part 3 of our morality of Star Wars, and then I want to do a Superman episode as well. As in, just generally talking about Superman and superhero lore, and a comic, really more of a comic book episode of the channel, of the show. And that will be penciled in a few weeks. We're probably talking about 3 weeks now. So yeah, I hope you guys are doing well, keeping safe in the times that we are living in. As I said before, Christian Fandom Geek is a Red 5 show on the Red 5 network of podcasters and YouTubers. It's a lot of fun. It's good guys, Red 5 as well. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Red 5 are really awesome. Very supportive podcasters and YouTubers, and a great bunch of down-to-earth content creators. Lovely people. So that's why I always like to shout out to Red 5. Red 5 family. Oh yeah. So that's it really. And obviously, there's a lot of superhero stuff, because obviously it's been an interesting summer. Obviously we've had some big blockbuster movies, and obviously Superman was the most recent one, going into the Fantastic Four film, and it's a blockbuster summer, which is great, because as fans of great movie franchises, as geeks, as nerds, as those who love to talk about the best stories of our age, I say on Christian Fandom, get the best story of our age from a Christian point of view. Talking about the great tropes and archetypes in our favorite heroes' journey stories, mythology, archetypes, and tropes, and all that great stuff. And so it's a blockbuster summer, and obviously there's big talk of how much money Superman will end up taking when its run comes to an end. Like how many people are going to go and watch Superman multiple times? I've seen it once already. I will go and watch it at least one more time at the cinema if it's still on, but by the time I'm going to go, then I will. Because my daughter wants to watch it, so I'll go. My wife and daughter me and my wife have already been. It is a sort of family-friendly film in a lot of ways, so I think our daughter should be okay to watch it as well. Although it's a couple of hours, she might get bored, but let's see, that's children for you, isn't it? That's kids for you. Okay, Fantastic Four hype. I don't really have the hype for Fantastic Four, primarily because I'm not the biggest Fantastic Four fan. If I'm being honest, I'm a Superman fan. I like a lot of the Marvel characters that are non-Fantastic Four. So it's not really a film that is like getting me excited at all. But it is going to be a big film. People are saying, like, if Fantastic Four needs to do well for the sake of Marvel. Marvel have struggled recently. So it is a big thing. And obviously there's this argument about superhero fatigue, and I don't think there is. I think Superman proves that there isn't superhero fatigue. People just want stories that will give us a sort of hopefulness and joyfulness and escapism. We want stories that really make us excited and feel alive, and I don't know, take us to that secondary world So, really make us feel a boost in some way. And a great story will do that. A great book and a great film and a great TV show will do that. It will really elevate you. And it just it's on a soul level. It's almost like it's on a soul level. It just great stories are on a soul level. They're archetypal and they're beautiful and they're powerful and they inspire us and they give us a lot of excitement and passion and enjoyment. They really do. Great stories do that. They do. They take us to that secondary world, an imaginary world that is a powerful world. And it's not just escapism, it's also inspiration and it's also um, something that almost is a sort of metaphysical, spiritual boost that you just kind of, oh man, it just, I don't know. And yet, and it does take us back to when we're children. It does take us back to our favorite media, our favorite films when we were a kid growing up. It does do that. Um, and Fantastic Four, it wasn't in my radar. It wasn't really around for me as a kid. It wasn't really a big thing as a teenager for me. So it just didn't really play into my story as somebody into the superhero genre. Fantastic Four just didn't play into it for me, and so it doesn't have. And I know that they brought out a previous film under Fox and whatever. I think I watched one of the films under the Fox iteration. It was okay. It was okay. It was nothing special. It was okay. It was okay. Um, by the way, Maverick, because I know Maverick, you'll end up watching this video even if you don't come on while I'm live now. But even if you don't come on while I'm live, I know you'll watch this. You're great like that. You posted loads of questions for me on my previous video about what did I speak about? What did I speak about in my previous video? It was more philosophy, wasn't it? It was like a sort of philosophical episode. Maverick, I am going to address your questions, but I'm going to do it as an episode or two. But I'm still thinking about how I want to approach it. I've kind of done a part of it already to do with what sort of objectivity and is life relative. That was kind of my last video, wasn't it? About is reality like sort of relative? That was my last one. I'm gonna do more because you asked some really profound questions, Maverick, and I'm doing a bit of homework on some of those questions as well. So I am doing a bit of homework on some of those questions as well. So just because some of them are things that I'm very familiar with, and it's like I want to look at it from a different point of view, and then some of them are things that I'm looking at from a different point of view as well. And I'm collating some thoughts together and some ideas together just to make so when I do some episodes on them, because I know you probably want to engage on it, it will be really more interesting. So I'm just kind of doing a bit of homework at the moment. So I haven't ignored, or I'm not deliberately ignoring you with your questions that you put on my about the last video that I did about his life, like sort of relative. Is the world relative? Is morality relative? I'm not ignoring you. I'm just kind of thinking of things that I want to put down on a sort of almost like a response episode. Is kind of then the thinking I'm going down, and looking at some of those key factors and key archetypes of what you've said. And so it'll be really interesting because some of the stuff's really interesting stuff. And it's like me, Maverick. I'm somebody that is a deep thinker. So, and to all you guys who are into philosophy or into cosmology or into the history of science or history or theology, religion, and how those things sort of connect with each other, you guys will find that really interesting as well. I certainly do. I find this stuff absolutely fascinating. Absolutely fine. Fascinating. So no one's really come on the stream to say hello, which is absolutely fine because we're all busy and I'm busy. That's why this episode is just a quick one because I've got stuff to do myself. So I'm gonna start to kind of wrap it up now anyway. I think I was gonna go 15, but I might wrap it up a bit early. I might go to about 12. So I'm gonna start to wrap it up. But like I say, guys, thank you for all you guys engaging with Christian Fandom Geek in the last few weeks. It does mean a lot to me that I would have you guys who are very smart. You're very knowledgeable about lots of different things, and been very loyal to the channel. It's a bit of a hobby, but it's still a lot of fun. And I love engaging with your questions and your thoughts on the geek world, and also on other things like philosophy and the nature of all reality and God and religion and all those sort of really deep existential questions that we are looking to get a sort of a bit of a grip on it, in terms of, okay, what do I believe about this? What do I believe about that? What do I believe about how the world it works? What do I believe about the nature of reality and purpose and meaning in the universe, and the fine tuning of the universe, and sort of alternative theories of history, and things like that. Sort of, they're really interesting stuff. Virtual history is called, where you kind of think that history, um, there maybe history is different to how we've been taught it. Maybe the other historical narratives that are truer than the version of history that we actually have. For example, and ancient Kemet, Egypt would be a big one on that, and the Sumerians would also be a big one, and the Atlanteans, if they're real, would also, if they actually existed, would be another one to look at, and things like that. So if you have any questions for me, like I say, I am thinking about the question about relativity at the moment, in terms of, just from a conversation with Maverick about, is how, what is truth, and is subjective truth reflected objectively? How powerful is the lens at which you understand reality? Those are big questions. Where's the boundary between subjective truth and objective truth? Where's the boundary? Or is there no boundary? Do they kind of just go into each other? Does it all just kind of come together in a sort of symbiotic sort of relationship? We know from quantum mechanics that human beings interact with the world on a fundamental level, which shapes the world around us. And some philosophers have kind of understood that. Some philosophers have really, Immanuel Kant is probably the philosopher that really kind of got that in an understanding that our interactions with the world seem to make the world manifest differently than if we weren't interacting with it. Again, that goes into quantum mechanics, which comes hundreds of years later, but it goes into the idea of a sort of the noumenal world and the phenomenal world. That kind of the idea, and that's a sort of Kantian idea of how human beings and how logic reacts with the world itself. The sort of filter or lens at which we view reality shapes the reality around us. Again, our modern understanding of quantum mechanics shows that's actually true. That Immanuel Kant was really onto something when looking at the idea of our perceptions of reality are shaped by us, essentially. So does that mean? So what does it mean for an objective reality if our reality is so intrinsically connected to how we view the world? How does that? Do we even interact with base reality at all? Donald Hoffman, another philosopher, but who's a contemporary philosopher of our generation now, he talks about it a lot. Donald Hoffman talks about that we filter out reality. So essentially, Hoffman's view is, building from Immanuel Kant. Hoffman basically says that our sense experience isn't showing us a lot of reality; it filters out a lot of reality, so that we can actually interact with the world in a more reasonable way, because there's too much information. So our sense experience filters out loads of things so that we can actually make sense of the world in a more reasonable way. So, when you really think about it, there's a lot to kind of engage with there. So that's why I've said, Maverick, to you that I'm going to be looking at some other stuff. By the way, the stuff with Immanuel Kant and Hoffman is not the stuff I'm talking about. I've already looked into that stuff a lot already. It's other things, including Democritus and some of the other guys that you mentioned, that are very interesting characters. But I say, in terms of Immanuel Kant and Donald Hoffman, they're guys I've already sort of looked into their work already. Really interesting stuff. And there's a lot of great philosophers that talk about the nature of reality as well. So, Maverick, I've already made you. You have this strange habit of turning up as I'm gonna as I'm about to wrap up a stream. I said at the start, this is just a short one. But Maverick, I have spoke to you in this stream, so if you play it back again, I said this to you last time. If you play it back at the start, which you will, I'm confident that you will, you'll understand exactly what what I've been talking about. So I am looking at some of the things that you've said because I've got a lot of interesting thoughts around, and it is around what you spoke about before, Maverick, about truth from a subjective, intrinsic point of view versus a sort of objective truth of reality, and how, because it's really interesting because when we were talking about what is relative, which I found fascinating, and obviously our biggest concept of what's relative comes from relativism. That comes from, for me, that comes from Einstein, and it comes from understanding time dilation, and understanding that things that travel at motion will interact with time differently to things that are stationary, i.e. time dilation. Somebody on a ship flying really fast towards the speed of light, if a human being is on that ship and the technology is there to keep them alive, they will age slower than people that are left on the earth because time stretches. And if you look at Albert Einstein, Einstein says that this gravity is just the density of matter and energy. So matter and energy warp time and space. So essentially, which is like an interesting implication for time travel. Essentially, if you can warp time and space enough, essentially we might be able to do time travel. Whereas previous models thought of things like tachyons, where if something like tachyons existed, as they do in the Star Trek universe, then you'd have a faster than light particle, and that could do time travel. But if you can just warp time and space like in quantum mechanics, then essentially you'd also have a method for time travel in that sort of sense. And so you get all these crazy ideas from science. A lot of them come from Albert Einstein, but a lot of them are very credible and very true ideas. And the idea of relative truth is built into science. It's built into reality. So it's not just a sort of human convention. It's built into science, and Albert Einstein proved it. But when we take it now on a human level, we come up with different concepts for it in terms of subjective truth. So when we say relative or relativism, human beings don't really use that word for us. That's more Einstein and space and time. When we talk about human concepts, we use the word subjective and objective. What is subjective, intrinsic truth versus objective truth out there in the world? And which one is more credible? Which truth is more credible? Is subjective truth more credible? And when we talk about religion, we'd probably say, okay, well, objective truth seems to be more credible, in a sense of, you think about God, you talk about Jesus, you talk about heaven, kingdom of God. They seem to the concept of salvation. They're all objective things. They're not just dependent on what one person is thinking. They come from, if you believe in God, they come from God. If you believe in the Bible, they come from the Bible. If you believe in Christ, they come from Christ. And so that's an objective truth coming from God, the source of all truth, directed, beamed to all reality. But then, if you talk about quantum mechanics, a single human being can collapse the wave function. So, according to quantum mechanics, the reality is a sort of probabilistic process. It's a sort of mathematical construct. type of Hilbert space, mathematical space. And a human being, through observation, collapses the wave function. Albert Einstein asked the question: Is the moon there when no one's looking at it? And that's a big question. Is it there when no one's looking at it? And that's the thing from Albert Einstein. So I'm going to go now because towards the end of this episode. But Maverick, go through the episode again. I've gone over what I said I actually would do, to be honest. Look at the episode again, and then let me know what you're thinking in terms of more questions. And I am going to do some more in a few weeks. I'm going to do some more in-depth episodes for you to talk about these questions, Maverick. Maybe even a live episode as well. And Maverick, also let me know if you'd potentially be interested in coming on the show as well. Let me know. We can have a conversation about that. Anyway, talk to you guys soon. God bless you. Have a great day. This has been me, Christian Fandom Geek. Have a great day. Be kind, be safe, and make the world a better place. God bless you.